who had moved to Galt, and they were going to show Galt a whole new medical system. And so I was going to school and working and living with them, and I'd come home from school in the afternoon, and then I had to dust this big stairway. Everything had to be dusted. She was a debutante and married a guy that was a doctor, and so they were going to turn down on the career.
And so it was going to become the social center of California, was it?
Yeah. Well, I think they lasted 6 months. And I just worked for my board and room.
Mm-hmm. I can't imagine leaving, taking one of my kids and just moving someplace and leaving them behind to live with somebody else and work for room and board. That just seems so strange.
Well, anyway, then where was I going to live? So then Rita's sister and her husband had this baby. And so Vera said, if I forget how much I paid her, something like $10 a month or something, and I shared the baby's room.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then took care of the baby when they wanted to go any place. I was babysitter, helped her with housework and stuff like that.
Was Grandma in touch with you during that time?
Oh, yeah.
She was way down in San Francisco, and you were way up in Galt. Wasn't that hard for you, though?
Yeah, it was.
I mean, I would have been really homesick.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't homesick because I was at home.
You were home, but I mean, you
were home with Mom.
But I would go down on the train about once a month.
Mm-hmm.
And then
how did you? That's interesting because you graduated from high school when?
In 1937.
Okay, so how did you get from Galt to San Francisco on the train? But with the bridge
we went across on the ferry.
Oh, so you took to the ferry station and rode the ferry across. Because I was trying to think, I don't think the bridges were built then.
No, then I get off the ferry and take a streetcar to Sutter Street and transfer to the Sutter Street car, and that took me out to Octavia. So I knew how to get around. But then when I graduated and I went to San Francisco, and then I got a job. I forget what company I was working for. And then I was going to have to marry Rico. So I wrote to Marge, and I told her that I didn't want to marry him. And she sends me a ticket and says, "Get your ass back here." So, to Texas, yeah. So I went to Texas and lived for 6 months. With Marge and Frank moving all over Texas. Wherever Frank had to work, we'd have to go here and go there.
That's before you were born, right?
Oh, yeah. And,
you know what's really funny about that? After I got Dad's effects, from Lorraine, there was this little book. Something about this big. And in it, he would write down every job and what he got off of it, how much money he got off of every job. And then when I was born, says, Pooch was born. He cost this amount of money. I'm thinking to myself, all right then.
Thought of you in dollars and cents. Worth every penny.
Oh, yeah, right.
Well, I was getting so I wanted to go back home. And so, I was going to write a letter to Rico right after I got there. And Francis, you write that letter, you go with it. So all the time I was there, I never wrote a letter to him. So here I was there for about 3 months, I guess. 3 months or 6 months, I forget. Anyway. And I never wrote to him. But the first thing I did as soon as I got back was to take a trip up to Galt.
You're born.
And he wasn't the same then.
Yeah. Now, were you ever in Texas when Mom was there? My mother?
No, the next time I went was Marge wrote that she was, I think, of course. So I said, when she's ready to be born, I'll come back and help you. So I did. I took vacation time and I took off for Texas.
You were for Paul Elders then?
Yeah. The Greyhound bus. First time I went back, I went on the train, but this time I went on the Greyhound bus. And so I had 2 weeks vacation, and she was supposed to be born like the day after I got there. She didn't come, and she didn't come, and she didn't come, and it was time for me to leave. So Frank and I took Marge for a ride. And we took her over all the railroad tracks, the bumpiest places we could find.
See why I was so screwed up when I was a little kid?
And that night Marge went into labor, and Frank and I were up all night long with her, and then the next morning we left there, and we were all good. And I got a picture of Frank. They used to take pictures of people walking along the sidewalk, and so Frank and I were walking along the sidewalk together, and later, after I came home, I get this picture he sends me. It says, 2 nuts loose on the main drag. And the next day I took off. I was never there to help Marge.
Well, as